Hey everybody, and welcome to the call. Looking at your faces up there, thank you for joining us. Tia and I and Simon are really happy to be here with you and have the chance to share the story of the BLISS Meadows project and of how folks can support reparations and equitable access to nature in Baltimore and beyond. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Trevonna Grenfell, she or they, and I work with an organization called the Wildwood Path to support nature connection as an avenue for social change. I am not in Baltimore right now. I'm up here in the north in Wabanaki lands in coastal Maine, but I've been working remotely with Tia since January to support the development of this project. And it's a really big honor to have a chance to partner with this team in order to bring equitable access to nature and nature education to their community, and to work together to create conditions for that kind of work to spread across the world, which I think is urgently needed in this day and age. And I think a lot of you all agree with that. Is that true? Yeah. Okay. So for me, as a white leader, my work relies on the generosity and the hard work of Indigenous people and people of color who are working to keep culture, skills, and land strong and healthy worldwide in the face of vast oppression, often by my people. So I can feel in my bones how vitally important it is that I devote myself to the work of reparation and justice in the systems that we're all in together. So when Tia asked me to facilitate this call, I was really grateful, Tia, for the opportunity to be of service. So thank you.
Thank you.
On the call, the bulk of our time is going to be spent hearing the story of the project from Tia. And then we're going to have some information about how you can plug in as a partner, funder, and friend. And we'll end with a chance for some questions before we wrap up. And we're planning to be totally finished with everything within 45 minutes. So overall, thank you. Thank you, Tia. Thank you to the Nature Connection Network and Simon from Wild Earth for helping us host this call technologically. Thank you to the land for giving us all a chance to be our best selves and be in relationship. And thank you to all of you who are listening in on the live webinar or on the recording for all the work that you're doing in your own ways to support this kind of change that we're seeing. I know that in the face of everything that we're dealing with in the society, it's a lot to give your time and energy to this. So I just want you to know that we see that. And I'm grateful to be on this path together. And also thank you for supporting this particular work that's directly addressing some of the most pressing issues that we are all facing together. So Tia, are you ready to tell us about how you're doing that?
I am ready. So thank you, Trevonna, for that wonderful intro. I wanted to first start off with a land acknowledgement for where we currently are, where BLISS Meadows is. We are in the traditional land of the Piscataway people. And the DMV, which is DC, Maryland, Virginia, was kind of one of the hubs of the slave trade. So we know that we're operating on a lot of different layers of oppression. People of color and Indigenous people have lost access to land. And this project is a step in the right direction for all of us to work together and right those wrongs. So for those of you who don't know me and don't know how amazing I am, I'm a pediatric nurse. I'm a pediatric nurse. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. I did not grow up in nature. We were kind of like the concrete jungle in the projects. I actually went on my first hike when I was 22. And I was in nursing school at the time and I was super stressed out. And that was when I had like this kind of transformational experience on that hike. Like we had only been out there for about 20 minutes, but I felt so relaxed and rejuvenated after. And I was like, we need to do this more often. So we started going on hikes like every weekend, every other weekend. And then we started to have our children. So we have a 6-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son, and we would invite them. Well, not invite them. We took them because, you know, we didn't ask their permission. We would bring them with us on these hikes, but we were always focused on getting through the hike. So like the 2-mile hike, the 3-mile hike, the 6-mile hike. And those hikes with 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds is a rough thing to get through. So we would pull into parks and my daughter would say, oh my God, I hate hiking. Is this a park? Are we going hiking? I want to go home. And we were like, oh my gosh, we made our children hate nature. What have we done? So we started looking for like programs that were family oriented, that allowed us to be outside and None of them were affordable for us. So then as I was searching, I came across Free Forest School, which is a free program geared towards letting kids kind of have that unstructured child-led time outdoors. And I founded the Baltimore chapter, and I started leading people on, well, the kids were leading us on these hikes. And before long, people started asking me, you know, the what's this questions. And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't even know what poison ivy looked like at the time. And I was like, if I'm going to be leading groups of folks outdoors, I should probably know a little bit about what's out here. So I started signing up for classes and courses on nature education, a lot of wild edible medicinal courses. And then I raised some money so that I can become a Maryland Master Naturalist, which is like a state program that is through our extension office. It's kind of a deep dive into your geographical bioregion. So I become a Master Naturalist. I'm still running the Free Forest School. And I'm taking these other classes, and I start to realize the racial dynamic of all these courses that I'm taking. I'm usually one of, if not the only, Black person, or we were one of the only Black families at some of these things. And that really got me thinking about, you know, why is this so? So I started doing a lot of research, and I basically had to relearn history to figure out, you know, the relationship of people of color to the outdoors is not the same for everyone. Everyone does not experience nature the same. Everyone does not grow up in nature like me, like I did not, and other people who have. And there was this one thing that was like very triggering in some nature courses. Like they always started with this imagine a tree thing. They're like, close your eyes and imagine a tree from your childhood. And we didn't have trees where I grew up. So the only trees that I was familiar with are the ones that we saw in the history books where like Black people were hanging from the trees. So it was a very traumatic experience. And I didn't know like how to formulate and how to like tell the facilitators at the time, like you need to find another opening activity because this tree thing is not the business. So once I'm still like looking for courses and things to take, and I'm working Monday through Friday at the time. So I wanted something that was very accessible, something I can do online. And I found the Kamana Naturalist Training Program that's offered through Wilderness Awareness School, which is more of a deep dive into your bioregion. And I'm doing this simultaneously with the Maryland Master Naturalist course. So, you know, going through Kamana, one of the first things that I learned was that a dandelion is edible. And I was like, what? It just opened up a whole new world for me as far as like nature. And it's like, I see dandelions all the time. I know what a dandelion is. I could eat this shit. So I started like researching a lot of the plants that we call weeds and their edible medicinal qualities. And it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much food. There's so much medicine out here. How is this not common knowledge to everyone? And then, so one of the things that you do in Kamana is you do the sit spot, and they walk you through like how to find a good sit spot, what you should have. And I wanted like a really sexy sit spot. Like it had to have all the fixings. I wanted it to have like all the trees and the wildness and the stream running through it, but we don't really have anything like that in my neighborhood, or so I thought. So I'm on Google Maps and I pull up this image. I'm going to share my screen so I can show you the land base. Where are you? So I pull up this image. Can you see it? Yeah, okay. So my house is like right here where this cursor is. So I pull up this image and I see this park. And I remember thinking, we don't have any parks in this neighborhood. Like, where did this park situation come from? So I take a little field trip the next day and I go into it, and it's like this beautiful, wild space, tall, mature trees. I counted like 16 deer that one day, and I was like afraid to walk in at first. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I like went through and it was like amazing. And it was, this was the fall, so you can kind of see through the trees, and it's like, it's 7 acres. So it's enough space for me to like feel like I'm in the wilderness, but feel safe enough because I can see people's houses. So I know that I can get out of there and I can't really get lost. So one day I'm like, I go in and I'm walking through, I enjoy my sit spot, and I just kind of like wander through the park, and I end up coming out right here, and I see this beautiful meadow, and it's just like, as far as the eye can see, it's just like wildflowers, and there's like a pond that's right here. And I was like, what have I entered? Did I just enter Narnia? And, so I was like, what is this place? So I contact Baltimore Green Space, which is like a land trust organization. And I'm like, we have these beautiful pieces of property in our neighborhood. I need to know how I can access them so I can turn them into something for our community. So she comes out and we're like walking through these properties, and she helps me find out how I can access like who owns the land. So we found the landowner of this space where the farm is. That's a 2.5 acre lot. And I sent him a certified letter, and we got access to the farm to start developing that into a space. And then right next to it, where this little red dot is the vacant house that we're trying to purchase. So this project will protect and preserve roughly 10 acres of land in our neighborhood, which we don't have any green space currently. This Barber and Parkwood Park is technically a city park, like the city owns the land, but they don't maintain any of it. So while I'm going through this whole process simultaneously, with lots of encouragement from people, I started my own business, Backyard Basecamp, and it was mostly to teach people, kind of like the way Kamana does with the Coyote mentoring model of where you are. So you teach from where you are, like your backyard, the common things that you see every day. So I educate a lot of teachers now on how to bring their classes outdoors to learn, have the kids infuse nature into their curriculum. So if they're counting to 5 and on the letter L, then we'll go outside, point out things that start with the letter L, and I'll have the kids go collect like 5 acorns or 5 pine cones or 5 different color flowers or 5 of the same flowers. And the teachers are like, is that easy? And I'm like, yeah, it really is. So I was always mesmerized, like how kids kind of, they get so focused on something that like they've passed by a million times, but they've never actually seen before. Like the flowers growing out of the sidewalk cracks, or just the moss that grows in between like their little playground tiles. And they're like, it's so green. So as we have, oh, I wanted to show you my kids because they're cute. These remind me of, this picture reminds me of like a 90s band. We took this at the farm near the pond.
I like that Corey is wearing a Naturalist hand lens.
Thanks. Yeah, that was the day that we did that plant walk thing. You took this picture, Rose. So while I'm doing these things with the kids, in the vacant lots across Baltimore, looking at the plants that are growing through the sidewalks, I always had in the back of my mind, like, it would be so nice if we had a wild space that everyone could access, where we can like run these programs and we can do all the things that we want to do. And we have like unlimited access to the land. Like some of the county parks, the closest park to us is about a 25-minute drive. And the farmer's market, the closest farmer's market to us is also about a 25-minute drive, especially now because they closed. Well, they're not running one that used to be closer. So this project will give us access to food as well as access to green space that we do not have currently, and we are working on building up. So that is pretty much it in a nutshell. I've been traipsing through this land for about the past 2 years doing Kamana 1 and 2. Like I said, it's about 10 acres of contiguous land, and we are currently raising funds to purchase this vacant house. Do I have a picture of it? I do. So this house, it's been vacant since about, I don't know, maybe like 20 or 25 years. One of the neighbors told me when the Great White Flight happened, That's probably how long the house has been vacant. And what that means is that as Black people started moving into the neighborhood, a lot of affluent white folks moved elsewhere because they had that the attitude of not in my neighborhood. And this is currently the BLISS Meadows team. I'm going to go from left to right. So this is Atiya. She's a grower of flowers because we intend to have a cut flower garden. There's Rose. She's on the call. Hey, girl. Back here is Mike. His name is Michael Jackson. That's his legal name. I'm very serious about that. He is our accountant. And then there's me, our farmer, John. And then this is Kieran, our business development manager. So when we were formulating a team and thinking of who we wanted to invite to be on the team, we wanted it to be reflective of the community that we live in. So our neighborhood is roughly 80% African-American, 12% immigrant refugees. The rest are white folks.
Is that Lauraville, Atiya?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Frankfurt. So my husband is an immigrant from Trinidad. Atiya is an immigrant from St. Lucia. And then Rose and I and Mike are American. And then John, of course, is from Kansas. So that's our team. I'm trying to think if there's something that I missed. Yeah, so back to the house. So the owner of this house gave us 30 days to raise the funds. She already has a cash offer from a developer, but she graciously has allowed us to fundraise for 30 days, which will be over on June 9th. We have raised over about $43,000 the last time I checked, and it's only been 25, 26 days, which is amazing. To acquire this piece of property, and we intend to renovate it to turn it into like a community kitchen. We need storage for the farm. The farm itself does not have any utilities on it. It's very off-grid, so there's no water, there's no electricity, there's not even hookups for that stuff. So the house will allow us to have these things on the farm. And like I said, as well as have that kitchen space. And then we've been playing with the idea of getting the bedrooms renovated to house woofers or do like Airbnb, VRBO, so that we can generate revenue while we're still running this whole program. And then we've been working with a local landscape architect who's designed the property for us. So this takes into account all 3 parcels of the land. So this is where the house is. The farm is what she really worked out. We'll have like chickens and goats. And we have the 2 ponds on the property currently. And then there's a loop trail to the forest base camp because we intend to eventually have a forest school that runs from this property for kids in the neighborhood to come to. We have a lot of community support. Our community association president is very excited about it. She's been trying to get access to green space for us for, I think she said about 30 years she's been the community association president, and she's been going to the agencies and begging the agencies to get us stuff. And you know, she's just been pushed to the side. So this is really a very strong community effort. We've been talking about it for the past few months. We actually, we recently gained access to the farm. That was at the end of March. And since then, we've been just pushing forward and going to really make sure that we have something to show for this first year. And then we've heard from community members who are like very excited about it. There's a daycare that's across the street and she wants to like bring her kids to the farm. There's a guy who lives over here. He has like a boys mentoring group and he wants to have them come to the farm to help us out and also like to pull weeds out of the forest and everything. I've been bombarded with messages from like healthcare practitioners, like therapists, mental health therapists, social workers who want to know how we can collaborate to create something. So this house is not only going to be like a nature center, it's going to be a true community center that gives, you know, access to our neighbors, a lot of things that they may not have access to. otherwise. And yeah, so we've been fundraising for 25, 26 days. Like I said, we've raised about $43,000. My own daughter, my own 6-year-old, has gave me $2.03 of her own money because she wants to see the farm going. And I think that was all. Yeah, what
Tia?
yep.
Sorry, just a quick question. You said Baltimore City owns the land. Is it Recreation and Parks?
Yeah, Recreation
Okay.
and Parks owns the forest.
Okay.
You made me forget what I was about to say, Rose. I don't remember. It left me.
Well, Tia, I think some of us might have some questions, but
Yeah.
before
Oh, I remember it. Can I say it now?
Yeah.
The ultimate goal of this project for us is for it to really be like a prototype for how a community can invest in itself to reclaim space. So we're taking meticulous notes on who we talked to, how we gained access, so that if another community, we already had somebody contact us from Mississippi who's trying to get something started in their neighborhood. They're wanting to know, like, how did you do it? So this has the potential to be something extremely great, not just for our community, but for communities across the country and world.
Mm-hmm. So just to recap, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I hope everybody sees how amazing it is. Tia's not talking about the fact that she's still working full-time as a nurse to support her family, and she's not being paid for any of her time that she's putting in yet on this project. This has been all volunteer initiative. Mm-hmm. So right now we have a chance to get involved with this project as friends and funders. And I just want to recap the couple ways we can do that. Basically, it's give and share. Just in case you missed it, there's 5 days left to raise the remaining $15,000 approximately that we will need to secure the funding to buy this farmhouse. So giving doesn't just look like a $2 donation on Facebook, unless for you, that's a big stretch. We're asking people to stretch, to give, because actually the folks who are doing this work right now are stretching, huge stretching to make this happen. And I don't know about you, but if we are going to make it happen with them, people like me who carry privileges of any kind need to also stretch to join them in that. Because we can't leave the work and the burden on the backs of our friends who are also doing all the legwork and handling the impacts of structural racism in their communities. So we're inviting you to please give. And then share. We do mean share on social media. That makes a big difference. It's actually been really remarkable to see this campaign just trending and taking off on social media. So please keep doing that. We also mean share directly with folks and organizations you know of who believe in justice work. And if you do that, include the information about the project, a link to this recording if you want to, and a direct invitation to them to give. It is more effective than just a broad general share to actually invite people. So we think it's totally possible to meet our fundraising goal if we connect with the right people, but for that, we really need all of you to help. And Tia, I was wondering if you could just make the fun announcement about, Yeah,
so right before this call, I received a call. We have someone who is going to do an anonymous $6,000 match. So we need to raise $6,000 and then we'll get an additional $6,000. So that's 12 grand added to what we already have, which is amazing.
So that could be you who gives that next 6,000 to bring the match. Thank you. And this is, I think, the chance. We have a few minutes here, about 10 minutes. And if anybody has questions for Tia, now's the time. And we can take those questions either in the chat box or we'll unmute you and you can just speak and we'll hear you. So we'll just let you think about it for a minute and then we'll take any questions that come. And Tia, you're going to be facilitating the questions part.
Ooh, well, I do see there's one question in the chat and is there parking needed on site or is it provided off site? And how does it relate to public transit? So I'm going to share my screen again so I can pull up the map because that is a really good question and I have an answer for you. So I hope you can see it. Right here, can you guys see like my cursor? Yeah, so right here is an actual paper street, which means that it's a street based on city planning, but they've never actually made it a street. So we have been working with the Department of Transit. Well, we were working with the Department of Transit. Baltimore City is under this large ransomware attack. Somebody's holding our government hostage. So we had to, we haven't heard back from them, but we have their new email addresses. So we're restarting that process. So right here is actually a right-of-way that we're trying to gain access to in order to create some parking spaces, and also a space for us to be able to drive like large machinery in when we need to do like large chip drops or, you know, soil, or just to bring in like the lawnmowers and wheelbarrows and all the other tools that we'll need. And the transit question, so is it this street? Right here is another major street called Frankfurt Avenue where the bus stops. So it's very accessible via walking to anybody in this neighborhood, as well as taking the bus. And let's see, is there anyone else who has a question? I'm going to unmute folks.
I have a question.
Sure. Hold on.
It sounds like someone's.
Has a question. Who is that with a question?
This is Sam Stegman. Hi, Tia.
Oh, hey, Sam. I'm just going to mute everybody and then unmute you singular.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm just all blue here, but I can see.
Where is he? Oh, there he is. Unmute.
This is so great. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, it's just so awesome to watch this unfolding, and I just keep hearing about it from like everywhere I turn. I see it or hear about it.
Yay!
And yeah, I think you are doing such an amazing job keeping people up to date. Like I'm getting like 3 updates a day, and I open every single one. So
thanks.
It's really inspiring how you're doing this. And I just have like one real technical question.
Sure.
Someone was asking me, is it a tax deductible donation to a nonprofit? Can I give through a donor advised fund, which can only give to 501c3s? Is it or no?
So really good question. We are actually meeting with the fiscal sponsor this evening at like 6 o'clock to get fiscal sponsorship started for the farm. So we will have that for you soon.
Okay. So if that person just sends you information to say, here's the gift that's coming,
yeah,
you could add it to the campaign?
Yes.
Okay. I'll email you that then, but that's
Okay.
just good to know that it is tax deductible.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, cool.
Hold on. Are there any other questions? I'll hit the unmute again. We'll try that. Any more questions?
I got a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, so you have access now to the meadow and to the forest, and you're
Yes.
just working on really shoring up access to the farmhouse?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't really have much more of a question.
That was a good question, Simon. A lot of people have been asking me that. So yes, we have access to the 2.5 acre farm. We have started planting things on the farm. And we do have access to the forest because technically it's a city park. So being there as much as we want.
And Tia, can you talk about kind of like the timeline that you envision? Because I know first you want to get the farm up and running and then focus on the forest.
Yeah, so the timeline, hold on, I'm just gonna mute everybody again. The timeline, we're envisioning like a 5-year timeline. So we're allotting 1.5 to 2 years to actually get the farm to look like the site plan that I showed you. And during that time, we'll also be writing grants and everything to get the house renovated. So the $60,000 that we're raising for the house is just to acquire the house. We still need to get it renovated. So we'll probably need to raise like another $150,000 to $200,000 to renovate the property. And during that time, we'll be like doing what we can inside of it as long as it's safe to be inside of it. So it's a 5-year timeline to do all of that, to get the farm ready, to get the forest ready, and to also get the house renovated. So these things will be happening simultaneously.
So I saw one more question from Lisa, but I think you pretty much just answered it, Tia. But if there's anything you want to add to that question, which is what else would be useful in realizing this vision?
I have no idea. There's just there's so much. Just realizing the possibilities are endless for us right now, as far as having, such a large area in such an urban city. 10 acres is like a lot. To people who don't really, have access to that. So we have 2.5 acres on the farm, a 7-acre forest, and the house sits on 1/2 an acre itself. So it's just like, with that, what we've been doing is, as we've been trying to formulate the business plan, is like, what's possible? What can we do? What do we think we can't do? Why do we think we can't do it? And we're going to write it down anyway. And we'll probably figure out a way to do it. So I mentioned, hosting workshops and classes, having spring break camps, winter camps, summer camps for kids, having a forest school home base inside of the home, doing, like bird language classes, and actually getting the rooms on the 2nd floor renovated so we can have people from the Nature Connection Network come down and have a place to stay and teach some courses. Like the bird language or friction fires, or I know we have people here in Maryland too, but just to open it up to everybody in the network, like if you need a place to stay, we have 4 bedrooms, you can stay with us. Yeah, there's just so much that can happen, and renovating the kitchen to be more of like a community kitchen, so we can harvest from the farm, bring that directly inside, and teach people how to cook it. One thing that we found with a lot of urban farms in Baltimore is that, for one, they're not run by people who live in the neighborhood. For two, they grow a lot of food that historically the people in the neighborhood don't even eat, don't like, and don't know how to prepare. So I visited an urban farm that, gave me a zucchini, and I was like, okay, this is nice. What am I supposed to do with it? So, we'll be able to do that, so we can grow, zucchini or squash, and then just bring it straight inside and teach people how to prepare a good, nutritious, and taste good meal. One thing about our farm manager, John, is that he was like he worked at McCormick, which is like this really big spice company in Maryland, and I guess everywhere. But he knows how to cook really well, so he can like teach people how to make meals and make them taste good. Because a lot of people think that like vegetables just taste like water.
So I'm seeing the question too about, are there any scheduled work days? I'm going to suggest people follow your Facebook. Yeah, for information about that kind of thing. So if anybody is not seeing either Tia, you specifically, or Backyard Basecamp, which one's better?
I share both to either one, so it doesn't matter. Backyard Basecamp will probably be better, so you don't have to be my friend if you don't want to see me that much.
We all do now. I don't know. I think everyone's just falling in love with this project. I feel so excited just hearing you talk about it. And I wonder if there's any closing words you want to add before we wrap.
No, I'm just going to link our Facebook page to the chat here. So people can pull that up. And I'll also do it when I send an update about this $6,000 match. I'll link the social media in there too. Oh, I sent that to you only. Technology.
Send it to the whole group. Yeah, so I feel a really big wave of gratitude coming to Backyard Basecamp and BLISS Meadows and you, Tia, and you, Rose, and everybody who's working on this project, and to all of you who are tapping in from far away to support, and also right around the neighborhood jumping in.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say thank you and reiterate that there's going to be opportunities to plug in for years. This is a long-term vision and a long-term project, and that renovating the farmhouse and tending the land and then sharing and promoting this work is going to keep happening. So please stay involved. Lastly, Tia and I wanted to remember to emphasize that we are in full support of other projects of this nature as well, and that we're rooting for all of you who are doing similar work. And we want to leverage what we're learning and the platforms that we're developing to actually support and uplift your projects too. So please reach out if you're interested and see how we can be partners and resources for each other so that this can spread. Overall, if there's nothing else, I just want to say thank you again to everyone involved with this global initiative to regenerate culture, to rebuild relationship with the land, and ultimately to renew our whole society. I can't wait to stay in touch with you all and hopefully see you outside.
Hashtag believe in bliss.
Believe in bliss!
Woohoo!
Thank you, everybody.
Awesome.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.